Hi, and welcome to The Curling Show, the podcast that brings you interviews with the sport's top athletes and the people who shape the game. I'm Dean Gemmell, and since everyone in Canada is approaching that wonderful time of year called Brier Week, I decided we needed to catch up with someone who's won that big old tankard before, Nova Scotia's Mark Dacey. Well, thanks for being on the show, Mark. I appreciate your time. And first of all, congratulations on getting back to the Brier this year. It sort of has everything going for you, back in your native Saskatchewan and your first trip to a Tim Hortons Brier. How satisfying was the win in the Nova Scotia tankard?
Oh, it was very satisfying, especially with Tim Hortons being the title sponsor now, and my wife and I becoming part of the Tim Hortons family with our new business venture as of October of last year. So it just has a different feel going to it, being a franchisee for the title sponsor.
Hey, your record at the Brier is pretty extraordinary over the years, but your team sort of flies under the radar because you don't travel on the tour as much as some others do. But you did have a nice win in Bern. You picked up a bunch of American green when you won the New York Open, but you didn't qualify in Nipawin. You never really got it going at the Olympic trials. So going into your playdowns, what was the general mood of your team?
We have been a team we've been together 4 years, and I guess, we look at our history and our past successes and try to figure out what, goes along with those, what makes us tick. And one thing we have found is when we play a little bit too much, that's when we start to go south a little bit with our game. So after the trials were over, we just decided to take a nice long break, and we got invited to go out to the Slam in Manitoba, but we turned that down, and we just really wanted to take a light schedule and be fresh for playdowns. So the batteries were recharged, and it took us a little while to get going again, get our A game going. But once we got on a bit of a roll, we became hard to stop.
Among your team, the less time you spend together, the better you get along?
It seems to be that way. Not so much even get along, just the better we play. And I think when we play 3 or 4 consecutive weeks, we can certainly see the deterioration in our play. So based on that information, our new strategy, I guess, is to take a lighter schedule, spread the events out a little further apart, and try to see if we can make that work.
You represented Saskatchewan in '95 at the Brier. Now you've won the Nova Scotia title 3 of the last 4 years, and you also made the trip in '01. But now you can be honest here because you've won in both places, but compare the challenge of winning Nova Scotia versus the challenge of winning Saskatchewan.
Well, they're both extremely difficult. I mean, every province has their handful of teams that are, right at that top level, and then there's that, next bunch of teams that are there just waiting to knock you off. If you don't bring your A game, they're gonna beat you. So I find the challenge either place is the same. The biggest difference is the event itself. The tankard in Nova Scotia is played in a small curling club, usually in a small rural setting. This year it was in Liverpool, 4 sheets. It finishes on a Tuesday morning with about 30 people in the crowd. And
wait, it finishes on a Tuesday morning?
On a Tuesday morning, yeah, with next to nobody there watching, which is inconceivable, but that's the way they do it, and I don't know why, but I'm not even going to go down that road. But back home, the tankard is a major event. It's in an arena. They put top quality ice conditions down. They make it into like a little mini Brier. So you have a feeling, I guess, when you're playing in the Saskatchewan tankard that you're playing in something really big and important. Whereas in the Nova Scotia tankard, you have to create that feeling from within. It's not created for you. So you have to know what drives you, and that's obviously the Purple Heart and the trip to the Brier.
It sounds a bit like playing a Worlds with no one in the stands.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's a little bit similar, except like I said, it's in the curling club, the rural curling club setting, with very few fans around, and it's a bit disappointing. But we don't even have Sunday shopping in Nova Scotia, so we're a little ways from that yet.
We all know these days that there are great teams everywhere, every country, every province. But if you look at Nova Scotia, how many teams do you think have a legitimate, realistic shot of winning the tankard every year?
Well, I'd say I would talk more about teams that have a chance at actually winning the Brier, and based on the last couple of years, obviously ourselves and Sean Adams could certainly do it. Once you get down past that, there's certainly teams there that can win the province, but whether they would be a legitimate threat at the Brier is questionable. So I think there's probably about 6 or 7 that could win the province, but only 2 realistically that could go on and win the actual championship itself.
Now that you're at the Brier, I mean, you won the thing just a couple of years ago. You're runner-up in '03 there, but what's your goal here? Is it anything less than winning the Brier a disappointment?
I guess with the new life I have going now and owning a restaurant, I haven't really had a chance to sit down and create some goals and think about it too much. Obviously, we want to have a good showing and make playoffs and then sort of take it from there. But my dream as a kid was always to win the Brier, and certainly when I joined up with this crew and we talked early on about what we wanted to accomplish, it was all based on winning the Brier. And now that we've done that, it's kind of, you're going back and you just want to do it again. I guess you got to find what drives you. And, I think we're going in with the attitude that let's make the playoffs. And, ideally the 1-2 game, we know the difference between being in the 1-2 game and the 3-4 game. Nobody's ever won from the 3-4 game. And so your round robin is going to be important to try to sneak into that 1-2. It's going to be a tough battle because, the high quality of teams that are there. But we're right up there, so I think you'll see us do pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it is a great field, but you do have the experience going for you, and I think that's invaluable at the Brier. You guys were in the trials quite legitimately, I'd say, because you won the Brier and you run up the year before, but there's some questions about the qualifying process in Canada. I, for one, think there's too many teams pulled from the Brier because I think it's, as much as we say there's great teams everywhere, I think it's fair to say that it's easier to win Newfoundland than it is Alberta. What do you think has to change about the trials qualifying process, if anything?
Well, I certainly agree that, they maybe, stretch too many spots from the Brier. I would say the Brier is certainly one of the qualifying processes, and maybe you have to win it or finish second to get your spot when you start going into third and fourth place. Obviously there's a bit of a problem with that, but the qualifying process isn't as big a deal to me as when they actually have the trials. I thought this year after Gushu won, my first thought was, wow, I mean, those guys don't have a lot of time. Going to the Olympics is obviously a huge deal, and I think if you did something the season before where that team that wins has a full calendar year to mentally and physically prepare for what they're about to go into, would be the best case scenario. So the qualifying process to me, as long as it's laid out and you know what it is, that's fine. I mean, everybody knows what it's going to be, but it's the timing of the event. I think the team that wins should have a little more than a few months to prepare, and you might see a more consistent performance.
I agree with you on the timing. I mean, Kevin Martin made the point about funding for the Olympic team and who it goes to, and if they had more time, it would go to the team that's going to actually be going. And I think we saw the U.S. team do well and have the advantage of a long time to get ready for the event. So I think moving it in Canada would be a good idea for Canadians. But hey, let's talk a little bit about the popularity or maybe the lack of popularity of your team with curling fans. Even though everybody usually loves an underdog, and you guys were underdogs 2 years in a row in the Brier final, for some reason you guys maybe haven't been the most popular team on the ice all the time. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, I don't know who we're not popular with, but I'm sure there's a few people out there. I know back in in 99, 2000 when the tour guys were, there was the group of guys that were trying to boycott the Brier playdowns. We were one of the teams that all the teams were approached about it, and we certainly didn't jump on board at that point. I had never won a Brier, and I wasn't about to give up a year or multiple years of my life, especially in potential prime years, to give up that chance to win the Brier. So nobody was going to convince me that there was something better out there. And so I didn't go along with that, and nobody on our team wanted to go along with that, and actually nobody in Nova Scotia or Atlantic Canada went along with it. So I think there might have been a little bit of resentment from some of those teams that decided to boycott for a few years, and perhaps they still hold a bit of a grudge against us. In terms of the fans, I'm probably the type of player that wears his emotion on his sleeves a little bit more than most, and sometimes that might rub the occasional person the wrong way. But again, I mean, each person is their own individual, and I'm not out there playing to create as many fans as I can or make as many friends as I can. I mean, I play hard and I play with intensity, and sometimes it boils over and shows up on the outside. But it's gotten better over the years, and certainly once you have a family and you have other priorities, the curling doesn't seem as important as it once was.
I think that's part of the thing is your team never looks like you're having a lot of fun on the ice sometimes, and that's probably the intensity. But maybe the children are going to mellow you out. Is that the case here?
Well, I have a 2.5-year-old, and certainly mellow wouldn't be the best word to describe what it's like when we're all at home and he's running around. But he certainly has changed the scope of what you think about life, and he's our highest priority for Heather and I, and nothing is going to change that. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of people that I know, all the guys I curl with, they don't have kids, and I'm the only one on the team. So, I can only, express to them that, and to everybody that, doesn't have kids. It is awesome. I mean, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to us.
So now you bore the other guys in your team with pictures, is that right?
No, I don't even bother with that. I bring Ty out occasionally to the odd practice and, get them out there on the ice to push the rocks around. But they're happy to spend a few minutes with them, but that doesn't change their approach to wanting to start a family or anything.
Hey, we finish our interviews with something we call the run back segment. I give you a topic, and you give me your thoughts in 1 to 3 words or thereabouts.
Okay.
All right. The no-lift delivery.
The no-lift delivery?
Yes.
It's good for some.
1995 Brier.
It was a great time.
What you miss about curling in Saskatchewan?
The tankard.
That Statman guy on Curling Zone.
Don't know who he is.
He's your biggest fan online, I'll tell you that. You need to get on curlingzone.com. Best team in Nova Scotia that the rest of us don't know about?
Mark Kehoe.
Eddie Wernick.
Glad he's retired.
Favorite Tim Hortons donut?
Boston Cream.
Boston Cream?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks for your time, Mark. I enjoyed talking with you, and good luck in Regina.
Okay, Dean. Appreciate it.
That's Mark Dacey on The Curling Show, the best, okay, the only curling interview show on the web. Thanks for listening. Toronto's Black Pudding is on the way. They're getting ready to rock the house on March 17th at the Ontario Curling Tour Championship at a concert sponsored by The Curling Show. Black Pudding, great curling, should be a great weekend.
Left out all night. I'm hot as a rock.